depends on who you're writing your music for. If you're writing your music for the guy at the office, then Public Enemy is doing a bad job. But if they were doing their music for black people or for people who want to come to a better understanding on how things.
What if Tupac Shakur had lived? Not just survived the bullets, but survived the betrayal. Would he have built a movement, a nation, a revolution? Because to some, he was already more than a rapper. He was the first president of the pain, elected not by votes, but by the broken. And this is what that America might have looked like. Before he was a legend, he was a student of war, raised by the Black Panther Party, trained in activism by his mother, Afeni Shakur, who once stood trial while pregnant with him, and beat the U.S. government without a lawyer. He was born into resistance. At 17, Tupac wasn't dreaming of fame. He was writing poems about poverty, power, and peace. He walked into Baltimore School for the Arts with ballet shoes and Shakespeare in his backpack, and left with the voice of a general. The streets didn't claim him. They tested him. He watched friends get swallowed by systems that were designed to fail them. So he picked up a mic, not to entertain, but to warn. Picture this. President Tupac steps onto the stage. No suit, no teleprompter, just a scarred chest and a bandana tied like a crown. The crowd is silent until he speaks. First order of business, education gets more money than war. Second, if you've never been poor, you don't get to make laws for the poor. Every child gets a therapist. Every community gets a center. And prisons, they become schools. The White House becomes the people's house. Painted not in power, but in poetry. And every Friday, a new national freestyle. Because under Pac, the bars are the law. Tupac's America was louder, rawer, realer. He didn't sign bills. He spit them. Every executive order sounded like a verse from Me Against the World. He opened mental health clinics in Compton, turned empty warehouses into youth studios, banned private prisons, made sure no child was sentenced by a system that never fed them. He placed mothers in charge of welfare, former inmates in criminal reform, and poets in classrooms.
The story that they were talking about is called Soldier Story. And it wasn't about killing cops at all. That's just what the media took, because you know they're going to take what they want. It was about somebody who was so scared of police brutality that he panicked when they pulled him over. They didn't talk about none of that. They just took what they wanted.
His cabinet, Minister of Culture, Nas, Secretary of Defense, dead Prez, Vice President, Afeni Shakur Press, Secretary, Jada Pinkett Smith, before the fame, before the tabloids. When she was still fire and fury, Pac ran his government like a mixtape, and every American, they were featured. But the system, it doesn't fold just because you bring a better beat. Fox News called him a thug. The FBI never took him off their radar. Politicians labeled him un-American, the same way they did Malcolm, the same way they did Fred. And inside his own house, cracks started to show. Some advisors wanted to tone him down, cancel the poetry, clean up the speeches. But Pac wasn't here to be clean. He was here to be honest. And honesty, it scares power. He dropped a nationwide address called Still I Rise. No suits, just scars. They killed Martin with calm, they killed Malcolm with fire. So what you want from me? Silence. He never saw it coming. It wasn't a bullet this time. It was bureaucracy, paper trails, character assassinations, photos leaked, wiretaps edited, old charges resurfaced. They made him look like the villain, the same way they made every black man with a vision look criminal. Pac stood on the steps of what used to be the Capitol and said, "If speaking truth is treason, then crown me the traitor of your empire." The next day, they shut down his programs, seized his files, froze his accounts, and the media said he resigned. But the streets knew the truth. He was overthrown. Tupac vanished from power. No press conference, no televised farewell, just a note left on a turntable in the Oval Office. They couldn't kill me with bullets, so they tried erasing the music. But music never dies. It echoes. And echo he did. In Ferguson, protesters raised his lyrics like flags. In Oakland, teachers used Brenda's Got a Baby to explain systemic collapse. In Chicago, young poets stood on stages, not with bars about jewelry, but about justice. They called it the thug life doctrine, not about crime, but about code. The hate you give little infants FEX everybody. It wasn't just a tattoo. It was a warning, a blueprint, a curse, and a cure. And the more the world tried to forget him, the louder his absence became.
First off, fuck your bitch in the click you claim. West side when we ride, come equipped with game. How to get a bulletproof. Sex busting off the roof when I was a teenager. Mobile phone, sky page again. Bad boy murdered on wax and kill. Fuck with me and get your caps peeled. You know.
ain't no more. Smoking back to back till I can't no more. I'm just a trap nigga, I come from Haddon Rex.
So now we ask the question again. What if Tupac ran your country? Truth is, maybe he already did. Not from the White House, but from headphones on the bus, from murals on cracked city walls, from a verse you heard at 14 that made you believe you weren't crazy for being angry. He never got a second term. Never lived to see his plans unfold. But every time you hear a rapper speaking truth to power, every time a protester screams louder than a president, that's Tupac.
Words too.
And all my words came before thought. Things that I did, things I said. There's so many things I want to take back.
Like what?
It's gone now, so I can't take it back. But I wish I could have, but I can't now. But
Because you are sort of known for having a big mouth.
Still marching, still rhyming, still terrifying the empire. So if you felt that, like the video, drop a comment. Tupac still rules. And subscribe, because we don't just tell stories, we resurrect revolutions. This is Rebels in Rhythm.